They say the night hides what the day is too afraid to show. I never believed that, until the night I saw him. The air was heavy with the smell of rain. It's the kind that clings to your skin and makes the world feel darker than it should. I had been walking home from the library, clutching my jacket around me, when I felt that pull. A sensation like invisible strings had hooked themselves into my chest, tugging me toward the tree line at the edge of town. I shouldn't have looked. I should have kept walking, eyes down, pretending I felt nothing. But curiosity is its own kind of danger. My gaze lifted, and that's when I saw him. He stood among the shadows of the pines, tall, broad, and utterly still, as if carved out of night itself. His eyes caught the weak glow of the street lamp and reflected it back at me, not human, not natural. A flicker of silver, like moonlight trapped in his gaze. I froze. My mind screamed to run, but my body betrayed me. I was rooted to the cracked sidewalk, heart pounding so hard I could feel it in my throat. He didn't move. He didn't even blink. Yet I swear I felt the heat of his stare, as though he was standing inches from me instead of yards away. Finally, I forced myself to turn, to flee the way any sane person would. But the sound of my own footsteps was drowned out by something else on echo. A second rhythm. Someone following. I ran, faster than I ever had in my life. The streets blurred, my lungs burned, but still I felt him there, closing in with a predator's patience. By the time I stumbled into my apartment and slammed the door behind me, I was shaking so badly I could barely lock it. And yet, when I peered out the window, breath fogging the glass, he wasn't there. Just the empty street, slick with rain. That night I didn't sleep. The next morning I convinced myself it was nothing. A trick of the dark. A stranger passing through town. But deep down, I knew better. The way my blood had reacted, the way every nerve in my body had screamed danger, that wasn't imagination. That was instinct. I tried to lose myself in the ordinary details of my day. My job at the old bookshop, the smell of ink and dust clinging to my hands. The sound of the bell above the door when customers came and went. But even there, among shelves of forgotten words, I felt that same invisible thread tugging at me, pulling me toward something I couldn't name. By evening, the rain had returned, and so had he. I spotted him across the street as I locked up the shop. No umbrella, no hood, just standing in the storm as though he belonged to it. His clothes were dark, clinging to him, his face half hidden by shadows. But those eyes, silver and unyielding, found me instantly. Fear should have consumed me. Instead, heat rushed through me, confusing and reckless. It wasn't just fear I felt. It was something else. Something far more dangerous. He crossed the street without hurry, each step deliberate, powerful. I should have stepped back, should have run again, but instead, I stood waiting. When he finally stopped in front of me, close enough that the rain from his hair dripped onto my skin, I realized my breath had caught in my chest. "You shouldn't be out here alone," he said. His voice low, rich, like thunder softened into velvet. "Neither should you," I whispered back. Though my voice trembled, a faint smile touched his lips, but it wasn't kind. It was the smile of someone who knew exactly what they were capable of. "You don't know what I am," he said. The words should have made no sense. But something deep inside me, something primal already, knew the answer. "You're not human," I breathed. His smile faded, replaced by a shadow of sorrow that cut deeper than fear ever could. For a moment I saw the weight he carried, the loneliness etched into the lines of his face. "No," he said quietly, "and that's why you should stay away." But even as he spoke, he reached for me. His hand hovered inches from mine, trembling as though he fought a war within himself. I should have stepped back. I should have broken whatever spell bound me to him. Instead, I whispered the question that had been burning in me since the moment I first saw those silver eyes. "Then why can't I?" The storm raged around us, lightning tearing open the sky, thunder shaking the ground beneath my feet. And in that moment, I realized the truth. It wasn't just danger standing in front of me. It was temptation, and I had already surrendered to it. His words echoed in me long after they left his lips. That's why you should stay away. But how do you stay away from something your soul has already recognized? The rain kept falling, but I barely felt it. I was too lost in the nearness of him as shadow towering over mine, the raw pull that made it impossible to look anywhere else. He hadn't touched me yet, not truly, but my body already knew what it would feel like. Warmth, danger, fire. He let his hand fall back to his side, curling it into a fist as though restraining himself. His eyes searched mine, silver catching the flash of lightning, and I swore they weren't just looking at me. They were seeing me, as if every secret, every quiet ache I carried was laid bare before him. "Who are you?" I whispered, my voice barely carrying over the storm. He hesitated. For a heartbeat, I thought he wouldn't answer. Then, with the heaviness of someone surrendering a truth that could never be taken back, he said, "My name is Adrian, just a name." But it settled into me like a promise, like something I shouldn't know but could never forget. "Adrian," I repeated, testing it on my tongue, grounding myself with the sound. "What are you?" His jaw tightened. He looked past me for a moment, toward the trees that lined the street, where shadows moved thicker than they should in the rain. When he looked back, his voice was rough, nearly broken. Not human. Not the kind you should ever trust. The fear in his words should have pushed me away. Instead, I felt my pulse race with a different kind of thrill. My chest rose and fell too quickly. And I hated how easily the truth slipped out of me. "But I do trust you." Adrian's expression flickered pain. Longing. Something that looked like hunger but wasn't for food. He stepped closer, close enough that I felt the heat radiating off him despite the cold rain. His nearness was overwhelming. Every instinct screaming both danger and desire in the same breath. "You don't understand," he said. "Trusting me could cost you more than your life. It could cost you your soul." The words should have terrified me, but instead they only deepened the hollow ache in my chest, the one that had been there long before he appeared in my world. "Then let it," I whispered. The confession ripped from me before I could stop it. I've never felt alive until now. The silence that followed was louder than thunder. Adrian's breathing quickened, its controls slipping. His hand lifted again, trembling as it hovered just above my cheek, his fingers aching to close the distance. But he didn't. He let it drop, his whole body tense with restraint. "You don't know what you're asking for," he said, almost like a plea. "Do you have any idea what I am when the moon rises?" The word burned on my tongue before I even realized I had spoken it. "A wolf." His eyes widened, not with shock, but with the grim acceptance of someone who had been exposed. His silence was confirmation enough. The storm seemed too quiet for just a moment, the rain softening into mist as though the night itself was listening. "You should hate me," he murmured. "Run from me. People like you don't survive with people like me." But hate was the last thing I felt. I thought of his loneliness, the sorrow I had glimpsed when he spoke, and the way he stood there, resisting what he clearly wanted. If he was a monster, he was the kind that fought his own nature harder than anyone else could. "I don't want to survive without you," I said softly. His eyes closed, and for an instant I thought he would kiss me. My heart raced, every nerve bracing for the impossible heat of his mouth against mine. But instead, he drew back, shaking his head as if punishing himself. "You don't know the war you've stepped into," he said. "There are others like me, but not all of them fight the way I do. They've already noticed you." Cold rushed through me, chasing away the fire for a moment. "Noticed me? Why?" "Because you looked at me," Adrian said, his voice thick with regret. "Because you saw what I am and didn't turn away. That makes you a weakness." Before I could respond, the shadows across the street stirred. Shapes moved, darker than the night itself. I blinked, my heart lurching, and realized they weren't just shadows. They were eyes. Dozens of them. Watching. Adrian stepped in front of me, his body a shield. His voice dropped into a growl that rumbled through the storm. "Stay behind me." Every instinct screamed to obey, but fear tangled with fascination, with that same unshakable pull that had dragged me into this moment. I wanted to see, to know the truth of him. The air thickened, charged with a primal energy that made my skin prickle. The silver in Adrian's eyes blazed brighter, his shoulders rising with each breath. Muscles taut as though holding back something wild. Then, for the first time, I heard it, the faint, low snarl that didn't belong to the storm or to the figures in the shadows. It came from him. Adrian, the stranger. The wolf. The man I should fear, and yet couldn't. And in that instant, I knew the truth. Whatever danger was coming, whatever darkness these creatures brought, I would not run. Not from him. Not ever. Because the night had chosen me, and so had he. The snarl that ripped from Adrian's throat silenced everything: the storm, the shadows, even my own heartbeat. His body shifted ever so slightly in front of me, his stance wider, protective. "Don't move," he growled. Though the command felt torn between warning and desperation, I should have listened. But the moment I saw them, eyes glowing from the tree line, circling like predators, I knew there was no going back to normal. They weren't figments of fear. They were real. And they were here because of me. One of them stepped forward. A man with dark hair plastered to his forehead from the rain. His smile sharp, cruel. "So this is the girl," he said, voice carrying easily through the storm. "The one who's made you weak." My stomach dropped. Weak. That's what I was to Adrian. Adrian's growl deepened, his hand twitching as if fighting to keep his body from shifting entirely. "Leave her out of this," he said, his voice barely human. The stranger's laugh cut through the air like a blade. "You can't hide her, brother. You broke the law the second you let her live, brother." The word slammed into me. Adrian wasn't just fighting monsters. He was fighting his own blood. Before I could process it, the man's gaze shifted to me. Those glowing eyes pinned me in place, freezing my breath in my lungs. "Do you know what he is? What he's done?" Adrian stepped closer to me, his presence a shield, but my heart was already racing with a poison of doubt. What had he done? I grabbed his arm, my voice shaking but firm. "Tell me." He didn't look at me. He couldn't. His jaw was tight, his chest heaving. As though the truth was more dangerous than the pack that surrounded us. "Tell me, Adrian." Finally, his eyes met mine, silver burning with torment. "I killed her," he said, voice breaking. The world tilted. Rain blurred into tears, though I didn't know if they were mine. "Who?" "My mate," he whispered. Silence crashed harder than thunder. The pack moved closer, feeding off my shock, their grins sharp with satisfaction. I stumbled back a step, my body screaming at me to run, though my heart ached to stay. "Don't twist it," Adrian said quickly, turning to me with wild desperation. "She wasn't what you think. It wasn't love. It was survival. Forced. The pack bound us, and when I refused to become what they wanted, when I chose freedom over blood, he cut himself off, his voice ragged. I ended it, and they've hunted me ever since." The stranger's eyes glinted, satisfaction dripping from his smirk. "See, the mighty Adrian, protector of humans, confesses at last. A killer, a traitor, and now he'll drag you down with him." I shook my head, torn in two. My chest felt like it was splitting open, half of me recoiling from his confession, the other half aching at the pain etched across his face. He wasn't lying. I could feel it. "Why didn't you tell me?" My voice cracked under the weight of betrayal. "Because I knew what it would do to you," Adrian said, stepping closer, though every muscle in his body trembled with restraint. "Because I'd rather you fear me than see me the way I see myself. But you need to know this." His hand hovered near mine, inches away, trembling. "I would never hurt you. Even if it destroys me, I won't let them touch you." The storm roared as if echoing his vow. But the choice was no longer simple. The pack was closing in. I could see their forms shifting in the rain, bones cracking, bodies twisting into shapes, half man, half beast. The air filled with the stench of wet fur and bloodlust. "Choose, girl," the brother snarled. Step aside, and we'll spare you. Stay with him, and you'll die with him. My heart hammered against my ribs, louder than the thunder, louder than reason. Every instinct screamed at me to run, to survive. But when Adrian turned to face them, the silver in his eyes blazing brighter than the lightning, I felt it again, that invisible thread tying us together. I didn't move away. I stepped closer. My hand found his, gripping tight, sealing the choice with every beat of my terrified heart. If he falls, I said, my voice shaking but steady, then so do the first. Adrian's head whipped toward me, his eyes wide with disbelief. For a heartbeat, I saw the wolf fade and the man return, the one who had fought so hard against his own darkness. His fingers tightened around mine, a silent promise written in the press of his hand. The pack howled as one, the sound primal, chilling, hungry. The storm split the sky with fire. Adrian bared his teeth, the beast inside him rising, no longer restrained. Then so be it, he growled, his voice both man and wolf. And in that moment, standing hand in hand with the monster who had already stolen my soul, I realized that truth, the real danger, wasn't the pack. It was that I no longer cared if I lived or died. As long as it was with him, the pack's howls echoed through the storm, rattling the marrow in my bones. Adrian's grip tightened around my hand, steadying me, anchoring me against the chaos swelling around us. His body trembled not from fear, but from the beast clawing beneath his skin. I felt it in the way his muscles strained, in the growl rumbling low in his chest. He was on the edge of losing himself, of surrendering fully to the wolf. And yet, when his gaze met mine, it wasn't a predator staring back. It was a man, broken, fierce, and terrified of the choice I had made. Stay behind me, he said again. Though his voice cracked with something more than command, it was desperation. No, I whispered, lifting my chin. Not this time. The pack surged forward, their shadows tearing through the mist, claws scraping against the earth. Adrian lunged, his hand releasing mine, his body colliding with the first attacker in a blur of violence. The sound of bone against bone, growls layered over thunder. It was like watching the storm take human form. But I wasn't invisible. One of them broke away, circling me. His eyes glowed the same silver as Adrian's, but colder, emptier. His smile cut across his face like a scar. You don't belong in his world, he hissed, his voice dripping with venom. He'll destroy you just like he destroyed her. Before I could move, he lunged. His weight slammed me into the ground, the breath knocked from my lungs. Rain blinded me, his claws digging into the earth inches from my throat. And then Adrian was there. He tore the wolf off me with a roar that shook the night. The force of it left the man writhing, broken on the ground. Adrian stood over him, chest heaving, blood smeared across his knuckles. But it wasn't the violence that froze was his eyes. They weren't silver anymore. They burned gold. The shift had come, not halfway, not restrained. He was changing. Right there in front of me, his face twisted with pain, his body convulsing as bones cracked, muscles stretching. The storm inside him no longer caged. My heart stuttered in terror. He was terrifying, monstrous. Yet every line of his body screamed with the same protective fury I had felt since the moment he found me. I should have run. Every instinct demanded it. But instead I crawled toward him, rain mixing with the tears streaming down my face. Adrian, I shouted, my voice cracking. Come back to me. He snapped his head toward me, teeth bared, his form caught between man and wolf. For a moment, I didn't recognize him. His breath came out in ragged snarls, his hands clawed and trembling. And then something flickered. Recognition, his gaze locked on mine. And I saw war raging inside him, the beast urging him to lose himself. And the man fighting with everything he had left to stay tethered. Without thinking, I rose to my knees and cupped his face in my hands. My skin burned from the heat of him, from the raw power pulsing beneath. Don't fight me, I whispered. Fight for me. The world seemed to hold its breath. And then, before I could question, before fear could pull me away, his mouth crashed against mine. The kiss was fire and fury, a collision of everything we weren't supposed to feel. His lips were hot, desperate, trembling with restraint and hunger. The storm faded. The pack, the danger, the fear, they all blurred into nothing. There was only him. Only us. It wasn't human. It wasn't gentle. It was raw, consuming, the kind of kiss that branded itself into your soul. I clung to him, not because I feared losing the fight, but because I feared losing him. When he pulled back, his chest heaving, his forehead pressed against mine, his eyes had dimmed. Not wolf, not man. Something in between. Something only I could call back. "You don't understand what you've done," he rasped, his voice hoarse, broken. My lips trembled. "I don't care." But even as I said it, shadows closed in around us. The pack had paused, watching with a hunger I didn't understand. Their leader, Adrian's brother, stepped forward, his grin wide. "Cruel? Well," he said, voice thick with mockery, "it seems the mighty Adrian has chosen his death. All for a kiss." Adrian growled, stepping in front of me once more, his body coiled with fury. But I felt the tremor in his hand as he reached back, gripping mine. This wasn't over. This was just the beginning, because that kiss hadn't just changed him. It had changed me, and I knew. As his brother's eyes glowed brighter and the storm gathered for one final strike, nothing would ever be the same again. The storm tore the sky apart, lightning igniting the battlefield in blinding flashes. Adrian stood before me, his chest heaving, his body caught between man and wolf. His brother's smirk cut through the chaos like a blade. "You can't protect her," the brother taunted. "She's your undoing. She's always been your undoing." The pack surged forward, their snarls filling the night. My fingers locked around Adrian's, but he pushed me back with a force that made my breath catch. "Stay behind me," he growled. His voice, not just his own, but the wolf's. I wanted to obey. But fear wasn't the only thing pounding through me anymore. Love was. Fierce, reckless, unstoppable love. I couldn't stand by and watch him tear himself apart. Not for me. The fight exploded. Adrian leaped into the storm of claws and teeth, silver and gold flashing in his eyes. He was unstoppably, race-strike, brutal, every roar shaking the ground. But they were many, too many. And for every wolf he threw down, two more clawed their way back up. Blood slicked the earth, his. Theirs, the scent of iron, thickened the rain. And then Nye saw it. His brother breaking through the chaos, eyes fixed on Adrian's exposed back. A knife glinted in his hand, silver and cruel. Not claws, not fangs. A blade forged to kill his own kind, Adrian, I screamed. He turned too late. The blade sank into his side, and his roar of pain split the night. He staggered, his body twisting. The wolf inside him raging but faltering. "No." My voice tore from my throat, raw and desperate. I ran, throwing myself between them before reason could catch me. His brother's hand shot out, claws grazing my arm, but I didn't care. I pressed my hands against Adrian's wound. Blood seeping hot between my fingers. "You can't leave me," I whispered, shaking, my tears mixing with the rain. "Not like this. Not when I finally found you." His eyes, oh, his eyes. They flickered silver, then gold, then dimmed with exhaustion. "I told you. I'd destroy you," he rasped. "No," I said, my voice breaking. "You saved me. You made me alive. If this is destruction, then I'd choose it 1,000 times." The pack circled us, howling in triumph. His brother raised the knife again, ready to finish what he started. But something inside me broke open, then, not with fear, but with fire. I rose to my feet, standing over Adrian's fallen form, my body trembling but unyielding. "If you want him," I said, my voice cutting through the storm, "you'll have to go through me." His brother froze, then laughed, low and cruel. "You think you can stop us, little human?" But even as he spoke, something shifted. The pull I had felt since the night I first saw Adrian surged through me, burning alive. The storm seemed too quiet. My heartbeat echoed louder, faster, until it was no longer just mine. Adrian's eyes widened, his breath hitching. "No, it can't be." "What?" I whispered, my chest aching with something I couldn't name. "You're bound," he said, his voice trembling. "To me, to the wolf. That's why they want you. Why you felt the call. Bound." The word struck me like lightning. I wasn't just caught in his world by chance. I was part of it. Now his brother's grin faltered as realization spread. Rage replaced it, his voice venom. "So that's it, the bond. She's not just weakness, she's your strength. Then I'll kill her first." He lunged, time shattered. I felt Adrian's energy surge through me, a tether snapping tight between us. Heat rushed up my veins, wild and uncontrollable. When his brother's claws struck, a force I didn't understand erupted from me-blinding light, primal and fierce. It flung him back, his body crashing into the mud. The pack recoiled, howls breaking into cries of fear. I collapsed to my knees, gasping, my hands shaking. Adrian pulled himself upright, clutching his wound, his eyes blazing with awe and terror. You called it?" "The bond answered you." "I don't understand," I whispered. "You don't need to," he said, dragging himself closer, his hand gripping mine. "You saved us." His forehead pressed against mine, blood and rain dripping between us. "But the price, it's only beginning." Before I could ask what he meant, his brother rose, eyes burning with fury, his voice a vow etched in venom. "This isn't over. The bond won't save you. It will destroy you both." The pack vanished into the storm with him, shadows dissolving into the night. Silence followed, heavy and suffocating. I turned to Adrian, his blood soaking my hands, his body trembling. "You're hurt," I whispered. His lips curved into a weak, broken smile. "You're bound to me now. My life is yours. My death will be too." My heart fractured at his words. This was no longer a choice. No longer danger I could run from. The bond tied us together. Love and ruin woven into the same thread. And as I held him in the storm's fading light, one truth cut deeper than the knife in his side I had already decided. I'd rather burn with him than live without him. The storm had passed, but the night felt heavier than ever. The forest steamed with the scent of blood and rain, the silence broken only by Adrian's ragged breaths against me. His body was cold, his wound too deep. "Don't close your eyes," I whispered, pressing my hand harder to his side. "Stay with me. Please, Adrian." He smiled faintly, as though my desperation amused him. "You think you can command a wolf?" His voice was thin, fraying. "You've already done the impossible." Tears blurred the world. "I won't lose you. Not after everything. Not after my voice cracked, the bond between us tightening like a rope on fire. I could feel his pain in my chest, the flicker of his heartbeat stumbling inside me as if it belonged to both of us now. He touched my cheek, his hand trembling. "If I go, I'll take part of you with me. That's the curse of the bond." His eyes glowed dimly, fading like the last embers of a fire. "But if I stay, it will mark you forever. You'll never be free." I shook my head, sobbing. "I don't want freedom. I want you." The bond surged between us then, burning hot, demanding something neither of us had given yet. My heart pounded with the truth I'd been too afraid to admit. I could save him, but only by sealing the bond fully. Only by giving myself to it, body and soul. And if I did, I would never be the same. "Tell me," I whispered, trembling. "If I do this, will you live?" He closed his eyes, a tear slipping free. "Yes, but it will cost you everything." For a moment, fear strangled me. My old life, my family, my world would vanish. No going back. No pretending I was ever ordinary again. But then I looked at him, broken, bleeding, and yet still the only person who had ever made me feel truly alive. And I knew The choice had already been made the night I let him into my heart. I leaned down, pressing my forehead to his. Then take it. Take everything. Just don't leave me. His breath hitched. His arms wrapped weakly around me, pulling me into his chest. And then the bond ignited. It wasn't light this time. It was fire, shadows, moonlight, all of it, pouring through me, around me. Until I couldn't tell where I ended and he began. My blood roared like a river, my heart beating in sync with his. Our souls fusing together in a blaze of agony and ecstasy. When the fire died down, I gasped for air. Adrian was beneath me, his wound already closing, golden light knitting flesh and bone where the blade had struck. His eyes burned brighter than ever, fierce and alive. He looked at me like I was both salvation and sin. "You bound yourself to me," he whispered, his voice trembling with awe. "Forever." I nodded, my tears falling onto his skin. Forever. The forest seemed to breathe with us then, the trees swaying in reverence. But the peace was fragile. His brother's words haunted the silence. "The bond won't save you. It will destroy you both." Adrian sat up slowly, his strength returning. "He won't stop. Not until one of us is dead. Then we'll fight," I said, my voice steady for the first time all night. Together. He studied me, his gaze lingering on the new mark that had appeared on my skin, a silver crescent etched over my heart, glowing faintly in the moonlight. "The symbol of the bond. You're not human anymore," he said softly. "Not in mourning, but in reverence." I smiled through my tears. "Neither are you." The dawn broke then, spilling light through the branches, painting the battlefield gold. The world looked raw, changed, but strangely beautiful. I leaned into him, resting my head against his shoulder. "What happens now?" I asked. He kissed the top of my head, his lips warm and certain. "Now we run. We fight. We love. Until the bond takes us wherever it leads." His words should have frightened me. But they didn't. For the first time, I wasn't haunted by fear of what I might lose. I was burning with the certainty of what I had chosen. I closed my eyes, listening to his heartbeat echo with mine, and whispered the only vow I could make. "Whatever comes, your spirit stays with me always." And in the quiet, I felt him smile against my hair. The curse, the bond, the danger, it was all still waiting. But so was the love that had defied every rule of life and death. And that, I realized, was the only kind of love worth living for.